All right, welcome everybody. As mentioned before, for those of you who are just joining us, my name is Cody. I'm our Senior Engagement Coordinator here of our Future Students team here at UniSC. I'm actually based on our Sunshine Coast campus, but we do have some team members here who are based across all of our campuses, a part of the UniSC family. I am joined by Karen Ann Clark, who is our Program Coordinator of Nursing, as well as Josh, who's one of our first year students in the nursing program based at our Moreton Bay campus, as well as we do have two team members who are going to answer all your questions this afternoon, Charlie and Katie. Talking about questions, how this afternoon will go. We are going to go over the course options, some of the support services and pathways, and then we're going to jump into a panel discussion and talk all things nursing, maybe a little bit about midwifery, placement experiences, regional remote opportunities, scholarship opportunities, and make sure we answer all those questions that you might want to have answered live. Now, regarding questions, depending on what device you are on this evening, we do have a Q&A function, a part of the Zoom setting. If you look to the top or bottom of your screen, you'll see a little button that says Q&A. If you have any questions throughout the evening, please start throwing them in now. Our team will either answer them immediately or we'll save them for the Q&A panel. Please start throwing them in as soon as you're thinking about them. If you're thinking about, I'm sure someone else who is attending this evening is also wanting that same question answered. So sometimes we can even put the thumbs up, which will escalate that question to the top to make sure that we do answer that one as a priority. All right, on to the rest of the evening. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we work and live and recognize the continuing connection to land, water, and community. We pay respect to elders past and present. So before jumping into our nursing courses, I guess for some of you, you may not know a lot about University of the Sunshine Coast. We're a multi-campus university, and yes, nursing is available across all of our campuses, as it is one of our most demanding areas of programs that we have at University of the Sunshine Coast, especially for certain footprints like Hervey Bay, Gympie, and Caboolture, where we have campuses that the majority of our students are part of these nursing and community service programs. This is because there is a crying out for more jobs in these fields, and therefore we support with our local communities and councils and job providers to make sure that if you study locally, you can get a job locally. We have some other amazing campuses as well. We have Sunshine Coast and Moreton Bay. This is what we would like to call maybe our full service campuses. They have a breadth of programs available to you, as well as a range of other activities and social services that can be included outside the study journey. We also have online. Now, typically our nursing program is a face-to-face program, but there are aspects of the program that are available online, as well as certain subjects or courses that are also available online, especially if you are going through one of those placement experiences that we'll talk about very soon. So now you know about locations, and a lot of you might be understanding, yeah, I already know what I want to study, but what is going to make my experience a little bit easier? What support can I receive from the university to make sure I can get to that finish line? And it's something I know that we do very well. It's something we're very passionate about, is our support services as an institution. For starters, our academic and study support, this can be from referencing support, jump onto our online library, there's a range of workshops available on campus or online, as well as our careers and employment support, health and well-being, financial support and scholarships. We'll jump into that in a second, and student groups and partnership opportunities. I just want to highlight our careers and employment team. They're a really fantastic team. I know I work with them very closely. This team is actually here to help you at the start of your journey, but also at the end. So for example, our careers and employment team, if you're sitting here tonight going, you know what, I don't know exactly what course I want to do or what program I want to do. Is it nursing? Is it occupational therapy? Is it midwifery? All I know is that I'm passionate about helping my community and I'm passionate about health. Our careers employment team is a team of careers counselors. They're what we call an agnostic team as well. So they're not here just to talk about UniSC courses. Their goal is to work with you and go, what is your goal career? What does a day in a life look like for a job for you in terms of your wants and needs? And then working your way back to the start of that journey. And if that's UniSC and that's the best choice, that's fantastic. But if it is TAFE or certain streams that might get you straight into the workforce, they will also highlight a lot of those opportunities as well for you. Really great team. They'll also help you with your application process. That same team have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to graduate positions and getting job ready at the end of your degree. A lot of you will get to your final year and go, all right, I want to start planning for my graduate opportunities that are available. Besides talking to your academic team, such as Karen Ann, who has a wealth of knowledge across graduate jobs and opportunities that are available, not just in Queensland, but maybe Australia-wide or even worldwide. Our careers and employment team will be able to help you prepare your resume, get your applications ready, show you the services that are available to you in terms of job sites where you should start applying. Really fantastic team. Highly recommend getting in with them nice and early so you can gain some knowledge on all the free services that they can provide for you. Now, scholarships. Scholarships are one of my favorite because a lot of people think, why would anyone give me free money? We actually give away about $4.3 million per year. Now, scholarships are not just designed for new students, but also current students, and it's only one application and it will automatically put you into all the scholarships that you would be suitable for. Now, if you're a new student, you can apply for scholarships quite readily in the middle of the year or at the end of the year for semester 1, 2026. How our scholarship application works, honestly, you fill out all the requirements based on you and I guess the requirements of all the fields available. Fill it all out. It does not take very long, anywhere from 15 minutes to half an hour, sometimes a bit longer if you want to put in a bit more extra information. And there's a range of scholarships available for you. Anything from placement bursaries, study bursaries, regional remote bursaries. There is a lot of scholarships that are available and it's a fee-free application. Now, if you do miss out on the scholarship on your first time, please apply for the next semester and the next semester and the next semester. For example, one of my friends who was studying social work, she's now just completed. She received finally her first scholarship of $5,000 as just before she was about to go on an 8-week placement for her key placement experience as part of her social work degree. Now, she went out to St. George, Illawarra, pretty far away. She wanted to work in Indigenous health services, a part of her social work setting, and she was able to receive a $5,000 bursary to help her cover the costs of her placement experience, including accommodation and financial need. That scholarship is given to her in cash, straight to her bank account to help her in a way that will suit her best. Really great scholarship. There is a range of different scholarships, as I mentioned, available. You may miss out the first time, but you may receive one the second time. You may receive another one throughout your study journey. It is a quick and easy application. Please, please apply. The reason we highlight this so much is so many people go without scholarships who we've seen or deemed eligible to receive these bursaries, anywhere from $500 books bursaries all the way up to $30,000. This is where I'm going to pass over to Karen Ann. We are very lucky enough to have the program coordinator from UniSC Bachelors of Nursing Science with us, who's going to give us a breadth of scope across, I guess, our health and why we're number one, but also our programs that are available to you guys. Over to you, Karen.
Thanks, Cody. Hi, everybody. Now, I can't see who you are, but I can see we've got 39 people online. So that's a fantastic range of people out there. So I hope that I can speak to all of you about the things that you're probably most interested in. Now, probably I wanted to just give you just a wee little taste of who I am so that hopefully I can provide you with just some, probably a little bit of background history, a little bit of personal story about why nursing is such a fantastic profession. I am a mental health nurse by trade. So I did my nursing training at the Princess Alexandra Hospital in Brisbane back in the mid-80s when we used to do an apprenticeship style of training over 3 years. I then went to Melbourne and did all of my postgraduate mental health nursing, and that has been my career ever since. Now, can I just say to you that it has taken me across the country and it has taken me across the world in a range of different hospital, community, and other health contexts across the lifespan. The thing about mental health nursing, and I know that there are always some people who just know that this is an area that calls to them very dearly. And I know that there are some people who it frightens the living daylights out of them. But what I've found is that students who have a little bit of anxiety about it, the minute that they start to realize that you deal with people with mental health conditions and mental distress at every point in the healthcare journey, it opens their eyes up to a different view of life and health and how it plays out in the real world. Now, I have been at the University of the Sunshine Coast since 2007, so it's quite a significant period of time in the higher education space. And when I first started at UniSC, we had probably about 500 students in our nursing program. Now, I currently look after two programs, the Bachelor of Nursing Science and the Bachelor of Nursing Science Graduate Entry Program, and they now make up just shy of 3,500 students. So it's been an enormously popular program, and we've had incredible growth over the last 16 years. And that just shows you the demand for the profession, the demand for the discipline. Nurses make up the greatest part of the healthcare service delivery team. We make up more out of any healthcare team than any other discipline. And we sit in a school of health currently at the university with 11 other disciplines. So in the real world, nurses don't work in isolation. We work with a range of other disciplines, from social workers, dietitians, exercise and sports physiologists, physiotherapists. We have a brand new physiotherapy program this year. We have a medical program that will be coming to the university within the next 2 to 3 years. So the range of health disciplines that you engage with and that you will engage with in the real world, you will find here at UniSC, because many of the courses that you do within the nursing program, you will actually be studying beside students from other disciplines. Now, probably four or five courses throughout the entire nursing program, you will share classroom space with other students. So it's a really exciting place to be. So I think, Cody, could you just move on to the next slide, please? That might be easiest. Thank you, because that's a good part to break into telling you a little bit more about the program itself. So we actually have two programs. So I'm going to talk about the Bachelor of Nursing Science program first, because this is the program that most of you will be enrolling into. If you are just coming from school, if you are a mature age student who's having a career change, if you are an enrolled nurse, if you've completed your diploma of enrolled nursing, you will be enrolling into this program. So that's just to highlight that we have a range of different pathways into the program. Our enrolled nurses, I just want to talk to any enrolled nurses that may be on the webinar at the moment. You will actually be entering into an accelerated program. So you will be coming in at the year 2 mark, as long as you have a diploma of nursing that has been completed within the last 10 years, and as long as you have a current registration with AHPRA without any conditions placed upon it. So you'll be coming in at the beginning of year 2. So this is a 3.3-year program. And the reason that we have that little extra 0.3 on the end is that that allows for us to provide you with a very final, what we call a capstone placement course, or a clinical placement course of 8 weeks. We call that our nursing internship. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So it is 3.3 years full-time. We do have part-time options, obviously, and in fact, to be completely honest with you, the majority of the students in the nursing program study part-time. I do think that it's important to acknowledge that the typical student looks very different today to what the students look like a decade ago, and I'm just clearly validating that the majority of the students that will be entering our program, you are going to be juggling a great deal of life. You're going to have a lot of balls in the air, and no doubt many of you will be trying to work in some capacity between full-time and part-time, as well as studying full-time or part-time. And we understand that. We understand that life is very challenging, and we have a range of different options to help support you throughout your study journey. And we have a range of services that Cody will talk to shortly. Now, as he said, we do have a very, very wide footprint. We have a footprint that goes from Moreton Bay campus down south, down in our northern Brisbane region, all the way up to our campus at Hervey Bay. So that is our Fraser Coast campus. We have campuses at Caboolture, at Sippy Downs, at Gympie, and we do have some teaching facilities at our biggest industry partner, our biggest hospital that we use for clinical placements, and that's the Sunshine Coast University Hospital. So we actually have some fantastic teaching facilities and laboratory facilities out at the Sunshine Coast University Hospital that we use quite frequently during year 2 and year 3 of the program. Now, across the 3 years of the program, you will be expected to undertake 800 hours of clinical placements across a variety of healthcare settings. Now, we do everything that we can to give you a very well-rounded experience of clinical placements. There are some people who automatically know that they want to be a pediatric nurse, or they want to be an emergency department nurse. They want to work in ICU, or they want to work in primary healthcare. And can I please have lots of placements that give me experience in that area? We would love to do that. But one of the things that we are tasked to do with our nursing program is to graduate entry-level registered nurses that can work across a variety of settings. You never know what one day is likely to bring you from the next. You never know where you are going to end up in your graduate year and beyond. So we want to make sure that we are equipping you as registered nurses with enough knowledge to work across a range of different healthcare settings. So our clinical placement office works incredibly hard to give you a range of different placement options within the community, within aged care settings, within wellness settings, settings that don't necessarily look like there are lots of sick people there, but that is still part of health, and that is still part of health promotion that nursing is attached to. We have mental health placements, we have emergency placements, we have ICU placements, we have theatre placements, we have placements out in the community, the private sector, the public sector, they are all incorporated into your clinical placement options. Now, if you are coming in as an enrolled nurse, you will receive a small amount of credit. You won't be required to do 800 hours. You'll be required to do 720 hours. We give you a little bit of credit in that first year because you've done your diploma. Throughout your entire journey, you will be taught by current registered nurses. So all of your academics, all of the people who teach you in the classroom or teach you in the laboratories, they are current practicing registered nurses. They maintain a high level of knowledge, and they will be teaching you in the classroom and in the laboratories. And no doubt you will see many of your teachers from the labs and from some of your classrooms. You'll actually see them when you go out on placement, because many of our sessional or our casual teaching staff work clinically as well as teaching. So they blend the theory and the practice beautifully for you. So throughout every step of the way, you are under the direction of registered nurses. You are never left on your own. You are never left to make decisions on your own. Although as your program evolves, as your program develops, what we call your scope of practice, or your scope of skills that you become more proficient at undertaking, widens, so that by the end of your program, you are doing all of those technical skills that you see and you probably associate with registered nurses. But can I also say that you will also be thinking and behaving and acting like a registered nurse, which is very different at the end of your program to what it is at the very beginning. So as I've said, I've covered the career opportunities. You are coming out of a program able to work across a range of different areas. It's at that point that you can then decide whether or not you would like to specialize in specific areas. And that might lead you on to postgraduate study, which Cody will touch on shortly. Cody, can we go to the next slide? Thank you. Sorry, I've got an itchy nose. Always happens when you're on screen. Or when you're working in the operating theatre and you have a mask on and you can't touch your face. It's the time that you always get an itchy nose. The Bachelor of Nursing Science graduate entry program is slightly shorter. It is an accelerated program. Again, it's 2.3 years to cover for that, that internship at the end. So that clinical placement in third year, sorry, I realised I haven't spoken to you about that. You have 5 different clinical placement courses that you will complete over the 3 years, or over the 2 years if you are doing the accelerated Bachelor of Nursing Science graduate entry program. They range from a 2-week block in year 1 through to 4-week blocks in year 2 to 4-week blocks in year 3, and then that final 8-week internship, which is the chance for you to pull everything together that you have learned throughout the 3 years. Again, there's a little bit of extra information on this slide. I didn't talk about some of the courses that you will be undertaking and enrolling in throughout the program, but throughout the entire program, you will have introductory courses in year 1 where we learn basic anatomy and physiology, we'll do things like learning vital signs, blood pressures and temperatures and pulse rates, and learning how to do simple assessments on people's health. By the time you hit second year, you're starting to extend that knowledge and you're looking at different health conditions and different illnesses and ways of assessing, managing the nursing care and understanding the medical treatment of certain conditions such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease. And by the time you hit the end of second year and into third year, you're now looking at much more acute and much more complex health conditions. You're learning how to assess, recognize and identify a person whose health is suddenly deteriorating and how to manage that care in an acute emergency situation. So you need to learn a lot about pharmacology and pathophysiology, what happens to the body when it becomes unwell, how do the medications work, what are the medications that we use in health related to, and what do they do. So, in a nutshell, that's essentially it. So half of the program is theoretical in nature. So it's all the theory behind health and the theory behind illness. The other half is laboratory-based courses where you are learning the technical skills associated with nursing, and they all precede. So a lab-based course will precede a clinical placement course. So you start to develop your nursing skills, and then you go out on placement and you get the opportunity to practice those under the guidance of registered nurses. Now, I know that some of you are coming in the mid-year entry, and there may be some people online who are thinking about coming in next year. I just want to flag with you that some really exciting news. We're actually in the process of redesigning a brand new nursing program that will be starting in 2027. So I know that there are always some people who are really interested. I'm in year 10 or I'm in year 11, so I'm not sure if there's anybody on the webinar who's in that position. If you are within that age group, you're not quite ready for university next month or early next year, by the time you do come into university, we will have a brand new program. And I just want to flag that we are now starting to develop some new courses because there are big trends in health that are now starting to become really important for our students to understand. students who are doing our current program will also be able to receive this information during the transition between one program and the next. But something like planetary health is a really big trend at the moment, and we understand that healthy people are only as healthy as our planet. So this is really starting to, become important in the sort of stuff that we teach you. Digital health, telehealth, technology is becoming really big. So this is going to be part of our teaching from next year moving on as well, is that we need to equip our new registered nurses to work in a variety of contexts, rural and remote. I need to talk about rural and remote, but rural and remote really relies on technology to provide equitable healthcare to people. So we need to make sure that we equip you to be able to manage a healthcare setting that's really reliant on technology. I forgot to say that I forgot to mention the rural and remote placements. Throughout second and third year, we have opportunities for our students to go on rural and remote placements, all the way up to Thursday Island, Mount Isa, Weipa, and out west even further. Now, in third year, in the last two placements, so the internship and the very first placement, the 4-week placement in third year, Queensland Health actually offer $5,000 scholarships at the completion of that rural and remote placement. It's acknowledged that it can be, that there are expenses that you will incur if you're doing a rural and remote placement. So they are very keen to reimburse any student who completes a 4 or an 8-week placement in one of their rural and remote locations that Queensland Health service. So that's just something that you might not like to think about down the track. Cody, I might finish there and let you talk about the grad dip in midwifery if you would like. And please remind me if there's something that I haven't covered.
Thank you, Karen Ann. That was actually fantastic and so much information. In fact, please don't forget that we do have a Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. Although I feel like Karen Ann gave away like most of the questions and answers herself. So thank you so much for presenting and being able to give such a strong overview across our Bachelor of Nursing and our graduate entry nursing program. So we just wanted to highlight, I guess, we have many students that might be, or prospective students that might be looking at study, passionate about midwifery and nursing, which they do have a true overlap. Just as Karen Ann mentioned, a lot of our health professions work together in sync, including from our courses at a university level to obviously in the job profession. As of this year, we have brought out the very first 8-month graduate diploma in midwifery program. Now, this is only entry for registered nurses. So if you've completed the Bachelor's of Nursing Science or you are already a registered nurse, you are able to apply for this program, and this has a professional work setting in mind. So this is a full online program with a small amount of practical commitment in terms of face-to-face components, which are done on our campuses in an intensive mode. They are designed where you will complete this in 1 year of study full-time, or 2 years part-time, or best way to describe it is 8 months because they are a study calendar. And it's a really fantastic way for you to be dual qualified. Now, this is very relevant for areas where you want to go regional remote. Flying doctor services roles are very applicable in a lot of those regional settings where resourcing and I guess high skilled labor is well sought after, and it's obviously remunerated accordingly, which is really cool. If you are passionate about the graduate diploma of midwifery or passionate about midwifery, please talk to our student services team. We'll connect you with the number at the end. But just a reminder that you have to go through the Bachelor's of Nursing program first, become a registered nurse, and then do the graduate diploma afterwards. So in total, it will only take you 4 years to complete the dual qualification, which is obviously Bachelor's at 3.3, and then the graduate diploma in 8 months, which is like-minded to maybe some other dual qualifications at other institutions. Usually they buddy them up together, so the placements overlap, which can sometimes be a little bit intense, but the goal is to get it done, obviously, in that timeline. We've just set it up in a very different way where you're able to enter the workforce after your 3.3 years to be a qualified registered nurse, earn some fantastic money, and upskill at the same time. So now you know a lot about our programs, and you have a wealth of knowledge around UniSC, but you're probably wondering, how am I going to get in? There's actually a few questions coming through the Q&A about entry requirements. How do I get myself ready? Is there prerequisites? What ATAR score, what rank score do I need? Which we were able to see that's about 60 to gain entry into our programs. But you might not realize how many different pathways we have available to you. So at UniSC, we have a range of pathways for school leavers, or if you're in high school, to mature age students who maybe haven't done any schooling or finished school, and going, where do I even begin? I know where I want to end up, but where do I start? So we'll go through the range of options that we have. So typically we have ATAR, which is a very standard school setting where you achieve your ATAR results, and those scores range from, I guess, entry into the 40s all the way up to the hundreds, which is, if you get close to 99, you're a very, very, very high achieving student. Now, just a reminder that if you get anywhere from a 60 or above, this will gain your entry into our nursing programs. We also have early offer guarantee for our school leaver students. Now, jump on our website if you want to learn more about early offer guarantee, or EOG as we call it. I'm sure if you are connected to one of our schools in the footprint, you'll see our schools team. In fact, Katie and Charlie here tonight look after Fraser Coast and Sunshine Coast, and they work with a lot of our schools in the footprint. We have TPP, which is our fee-free 6-month bridging program, where tertiary preparation pathway program is designed with any student who may have not finished school or may have the entry requirements to get into this chosen program, but maybe lacking confidence in academic writing, literacy, and numeracy, and wanting a little bit more support. So this program goes for 1 semester. It's 4 courses of study, and you complete these units where we have a range of educators who are going to support you in academic writing, literacy and numeracy, referencing support, how to navigate the university systems and processes. In fact, if you do TPP, you're predicted to get a higher grade point average, a higher score across your courses, as well as a higher chance of completing your degree than most other students. And it's really because for 1 whole semester, it's all focused on how to learn. And you also choose some units that are probably in the field of area that you want to study. Maybe it's biology or chemistry, maybe it's math or English, depending on the field that you want to go on to. And therefore, when you roll over into the Bachelor's in Nursing Science program, you're more focused on the content that's in front of you instead of how to find the information. And we hear it all the time from our academics, how well our TPP students perform due to having all those core academia skills at the very beginning of their learning journey. We also have diploma studies. So we have the Diploma of Allied Health. This equates to almost 1 year of study from the Bachelor's in Nursing program. So how this would go is that you sign into the Diploma of Health, you do this for 1 year, and then you transfer over into the Bachelor's of Nursing. This is a really fantastic pathway because you receive a qualification after 1 year study, which you can use to gain entry into the workforce. Really great skill, fantastic way for you to gain entry into the workforce and work in an area that you might be passionate about that's relevant to the direction you're going to go, as well as the opportunity to still knock off a year of study onto the Bachelor's in Nursing Science and finish off the rest of that program. We also have selection rank utilizing a vet qualification. So if you have done a certificate 3 or a certificate 4 or a diploma level of study at any of Australian vet providers that are AQF qualified, so Australian Quality Framework, which, to be honest, 99% of them should be, especially if it's a like-minded program, you can use this program to gain entry into our Bachelor's of Nursing Science. So for example, a certificate 3 gives you a ranking score, or what we call an ATAR score, of 68. This automatically meets the requirements, and you can use the certificate 3 to apply directly through QTAC to gain entry and start in July. We have some other supportive schemes such as Access UniSC scheme and Indigenous Direct Entry and Access scheme. Now, if this is relevant to you or you want to explore deeper into these entry schemes, please jump on our website. There is a scope of offerings in this space, such as point support, or especially for Indigenous Direct Entry and Access scheme. If you identify as Indigenous or Torres Strait Islander, there are a range of extra support services to not just help you gain entry, but to help you with further study support along the way. Really great access for all of those students. So we know about the pathway. When do I apply? How do I apply it? So we go through QTAC. QTAC is a very standard admissions system that we use and most institutions use across Southeast Queensland. What you need to do is search on our website. You'll see a little QTAC code on our program pages, check the entry requirements, and then apply online. If you do apply online, you actually do get 6 preferences. So most of the time, what we recommend is put your dream course as preference number 1 on the QTAC application page, but always put a backup plan in there. So for example, if you know what, I want to go on the Bachelor of Nursing. If I can't gain entry, I'm going to put in maybe the Diploma of Allied Health Science. And then my third preference as a real backup plan will be Tertiary Preparation Pathway Program. Because what will happen is that you'll either get into entry 1. If you don't meet the requirements, it'll drop down to number 2. If you don't meet the requirements, it will drop down to 3. If you only put the 1 and you don't meet the entry requirements, unfortunately, you won't receive an offer in a typical setting. So highly recommend always putting in multiple preferences to put your best application forward. So you know that you are either directly onto your, chosen program and you can start straight away, or you're on a pathway to your chosen program and going to meet that, that finish line and that goal of a career that you are after. Not all pathways or even studying at university looks like a perfect bubble that you'll study for 3 years. In fact, 80% of our nursing cohort won't finish their degree at a full-time capacity. And we'll talk about that flexibility very soon in our panel discussion. So when do you need to apply? Please apply sooner rather than later. The reason I recommend that is that because our timetables have already opened up. The earlier you apply and the earlier you receive an offer, the more selection of timetables that you have. Now, what I mean by that is that certain subjects, such as first year units where we have multiple students, have available multiple slots throughout the week, which means you can choose a timetable that would be more suitable for you and your preferences on how you would like to study, but also fitting in all those other things that you are passionate about or have responsibilities in life, such as family, work, and other commitments. So our latest application date is 10th of July. And then in terms of final offer round, when you'll receive an offer is 18th of July. Now, we do accept late applications afterwards, but this will set you up for your best experience moving into orientation and then week 1. Okay, Josh, if you could jump online with us, and we already have Karen, which is fantastic. We've had a lot of questions coming through, but this is a real opportunity for our audience members. Please start throwing in your questions, no matter how generalized or how specific. We'll try to answer them online. If not, our team members, Katie and Charlie, will be jumping in and answering those questions for you. Now, Josh, I'm just going to throw straight over to you a preemptive question. We've heard a lot about Karen and her experience, but we'd like to hear about you. Can you introduce yourself, where you're studying, and I guess a little bit, how did you gain entry into university?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Cody. Yeah, so my name's Josh. I'm studying the Bachelor of Nursing Science. I'm in my first year, first semester, at the Moreton Bay campus. And I gained my entry through the EOG that you guys heard about, so that early offer guarantee. Um, Took the pressure off me going into my final exams in year 12. It meant that my ATAR didn't need to be as specific, and I could really just focus on getting through, passing, and gaining my QCE through that way.
Fantastic. Now, just out of curiosity, and it's something I probably should have asked sooner, you obviously just finished school, I think, last year or maybe the year before. What school did you study about? Were you local to, I guess, the Moreton Bay campus? Is there a reason that you may have wanted to study locally versus maybe looking at relocating?
Yeah, so I went to Genesis Christian College at Bray Park, which is about a 10-minute drive from the Petrie campus, at Moreton Bay campus. And I live within 5 minutes of Genesis. So for me, it was just easier. It was a better location for driving. And even if I wanted to catch the train for some reason, which doesn't make sense with our parking situation at the Moreton Bay campus, I could do that with the Moreton Bay campus just being off the train line there. But yeah, it was just a convenience thing for me. And then obviously it was a convenience thing till I came to the open day and was wowed by a lot of our technology in our Moreton Bay campus as well. So the Moreton Bay campus as a whole just, yeah, blew me away. And then the convenience was just an added factor for me.
Yeah, the facilities, obviously, Moreton Bay being pretty much a brand new campus, does
Mm.
make it a pretty fantastic study experience. My favorite part is that Moreton Bay Petrie is North Brisbane, and somehow it has a train station connected to the campus, as well as free parking and a water park across the
That's right.
road. So it does
Very
make it a
good.
very unique experience. I'm based up here on the Sunshine Coast campus, and it's a very, very large, spread out campus. Feels like a very traditional university experience in a setting of different classes across the fields and walking past the kangaroos. But we also have those Sky facilities where some of our students work in close to our hospital partner, SCU, which is Sunshine Coast University Hospital, and they have that learning experience. And the really great thing about UniSC, I find, is that your journey may start on a certain campus and that's where your life and passion is. But as job opportunities arise, especially through studying a program like this, where you can actually gain student positions at some of our hospital partners. I know Karen Ann and I met a Gympie student last week, and we found out that they've been working in a student in nursing setting at the Gympie Hospital since after their first year of study, which is really cool. That's a really fantastic experience where they can work in that field, especially shift work, which actually lines up with study quite well compared to maybe someone like myself, where I was working traditionally 9 to 5 as well as trying to balance study. It was a very challenging time schedule versus that sort of shift work setting where you can have an afternoon shift or work the weekends and get those better rates and delegate that time to stay. So that's really cool. So Karen, over to you, and Josh, we'll love to hear about your future plans. Let's talk about placements. Now, there's a lot of questions going, how do I choose my placements? But also, do I have to go regional remote? Do they provide placements for me close to home? What does this look like? Because we do have a lot of mature age students who might be balancing a lot of other commitments.
Absolutely. And they are fantastic questions. And thank you. Okay. So first of all, you don't choose your placements, and we don't ask you to choose your placements. The placements team work tirelessly. We have literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different industry partners who we liaise with to obtain clinical placements. Now, we will never ask you. Okay, so two things. First of all, you will never be on placement at the same time as needing to be on campus studying a theory course. So that's really important. So your placements will occur in periods of time when you're not in class. So you're not juggling the two. And so I think that gets back to a question that was raised earlier, I think on the Q&A board about flexibility of study. We have a range of fully online self-directed courses that you will study. A classic example is health law and ethics. So that is a deeply theoretical course that you study online whilst you're on placement. So you can juggle the balance of your study. You will study in a self-directed manner in a way that makes sense to you, because we know that you're juggling multiple things at once. We are predominantly a face-to-face program, so we pride ourselves on being a face-to-face program. There are lots of universities that offer fully online nursing programs. We are not one of those. We are still, and our students are very keen to maintain that face-to-face relationship with the academics. We will never ask you to travel beyond an hour from your home environment. So as long as you keep us up to date with your address, we will ensure that we do not give you a placement that is, 2 hours away from your home environment, unless of course it's by negotiation. Now, if there is an area that you are really interested in, or alternatively, if there's an area that you just go, I can't do that, that's just an area that I'm just not comfortable with, you have a conversation with the clinical placements team, and they will do everything in their power to meet you at that halfway and to support an element of choice. In saying that, we have 3,500 students, and the clinical placements team work just fiercely to make sure that everybody has their placement hours. Okay, because at the end of the day, that 800 hours isn't set by us. That 800 hours is set by ANMAC, which is our accrediting body who allow us to provide you with an education. So they determine the 800 hours. What was the other question, Cody? So that was about placement.
Yep.
The rural
And
and remote. You don't
true.
have to do rural and remote at all. It's whether you choose to. That is an area that is really emerging. There are so many students who are so keen at getting a rural and remote placement because you'll be given opportunities to do things that ordinarily don't happen. I think Cody's got a classic example of a friend who was in one of her very first placements and ended up delivering a baby. So you have lots of different opportunities that may not necessarily happen in an acute care setting in a metropolitan hospital. Okay, so certain people may have ambitions of joining the Royal Flying Doctor Service. And if that's something that floats your boat, you're going to want to do some rural and remote placements to understand what rural healthcare looks like. I have yet to speak to one student who has had a rural and remote placement who didn't absolutely love every second of their time while they were away. So was there something
Thanks, Karen.
else? Okay. Was there anything else I didn't answer?
That was perfect. But over to you, Josh. Like you're obviously in your first semester, so you haven't even come up to your 2-week community placement setting, which will be most likely in some sort of commuting setting and chosen for you within the footprint of your home. Let's just say within 30 minutes, which is nice and great way to test the water and even work out maybe working that sort of setting while you're completing the rest of your degree might be something that works really well for you. Is there any placement experiences or work experiences that you're really seeking out that you think, yeah, this is where I would like to end up at this point in time? Now, you haven't had these experiences yet, and that's the whole point of these placements. But is there anything that's kind of crossed your mind already in your first semester of study?
Yeah, look, the rural and remote placement would be one to look forward to in the future. I'm weirdly a city but country guy. Like, I've got mates that live out in the country, and I love going out there for certain periods of time. I don't know if I could completely live out there my whole life. I've grown up in the city or around, suburbia, but metropolitan areas. And I love it here as well. But I think it'd be an awesome, and as you said, you get heaps of opportunity. Hopefully we don't, because that means that people are medically in danger, but you can get countless opportunities to do things a bit out of the scope of the norm of for nurses, which would be really cool. But I just completed an assessment on perioperative nursing, and that took my interest. And so I would love to probably, if I could, obviously, yeah, like you said, especially not this first placement, but perioperative nursing, theatre nursing, that sort of stuff is probably the way I'm looking at the moment, but it's constantly changing and there's so many different avenues. But yeah, perioperative nursing is probably the one. And then obviously emergency as well would be cool.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. And Karen and I were just working with another student who's just coming up to their final internship, Colin, and once again based in Gympie, working already in a setting in nursing, and he never wanted to pursue theatre nursing, but had his final prac experience at the Noosa Day Clinic and was in a theatre setting to the point that he received a graduate position, employment, and wanted to pursue that all because of that work experience that he thought he was just going to do a part of his his program and get that experience, but wasn't his area of passion, to not wanting to leave that place and being able to gain employment from there straight away as well to finish
And
off
he
his
hasn't,
internship.
and he hasn't even finished his program yet.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. Yeah, I think
Really
he's
cool
still got
part.
8 weeks
Yeah,
of hands-on learning to go.
yeah,
And I thought that was really cool that these
yeah.
these hands-on experiences are quite unique. And once again, my friend Claire, which Karen and I love this story because Claire is from the country and she's one of my good friends. I grew up in a small town up in North Queensland, a cane farm town, and she's like, I'm done. I'm moving to the Gold Coast. I want to do the city. I'm going to study nursing because that's what she was passionate about. She did all these, I guess, metro experiences in the hospital, and then she went and did remote and regional. And she went and did this remote and regional experience, and she describes it as this one day where she had to help deliver a baby first thing in the morning, even though that wasn't a part of her ward section, but she was one of the highest skilled people there to support that emergency scenario, as well as got put into a 6-hour operation in a theatre setting, which she was not also registered to be in an emergency theatre situation. Now, that's very unique. This does not happen very regularly in your placement settings, but due to being in a town of 150 people, and these scenarios do happen, if you are the highest skilled labor available in terms of support in these situations, yeah, you put your hand up in these remote services and really get into it. And it's a really unique experience to have. And that's what she loved about it. No day was the same, multiple responsibilities. The days are always changing. And she really loved that experience. And it's something that always caught me off guard. And I just thought it was really amazing that, a lot of people, especially in these nurse settings, really seek out that support. Like they really want to support their community in these sort of high fight or flight scenarios, which is really cool. So I guess moving on, Josh, you've got a lot more experiences to go, and we are receiving some questions. We only got like 5 minutes left. What would you like to do? You're at the very beginning of the journey. I'd love to chat to you in a couple of years' time. What's your goal at this point of time for when you graduate, if you have an idea as of yet?
Yeah, look, it's hard to pinpoint one thing. Like you said, I am so early. I haven't had any placement yet. And as you were discussing before, placement will dictate a fair bit. Because the idea I have now, I'm going based off an assignment that I did, as well as like I have a few family members that do perioperative and theatre nursing. Um, but I mean, I've gone through hospitals and I'm always in emergency. Not for any broken fingers, that sort of stuff. And I've always been taken great care of. So it's really hard to see where I'd be in 3 years' time based on no actual clinical placements. But yeah, like I said, some sort of theatre because I'm in love with the idea of biology and the human body and seeing that on an operating table, as weird as that sounds, would be awesome to me. Um, and all the sorts of broken bones and all that sort of stuff. It fascinates me. So that's probably where I'm aiming at right now. But look, where the future holds, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, working in that team environment of multiple specialties working together sounds quite unique and
Yeah.
really interesting day by day, especially because you don't, I guess, in these operating settings, you're working on maybe something quite different every single day with some amazing people, just like you would in emergency or acute care or anything like that, I'm sure. So there is a lot of questions coming around flexibility, study load, how many hours do I have to commit? Karen, I'd like to throw this over to you. What does a full-time or part-time student journey kind of look like?
Yeah, great question, because I know that's what many people are interested in. So let me just talk to you about what a full-time study load looks like. So full-time, any particular course that you do will require approximately 10 hours of directed study. So that's, that's doing any work before class, that's attending class, and that's doing any work that's required after class that might be attached, any post tutorial activities to help cement your learning. Now, of course, that's 10 hours per course. So if you're doing a full-time study load, that's 4 courses per semester. So do the math there. That's 40 hours per week at a minimum is required for full-time study. So that is your full-time job. Now, in addition, when you have assessments, there are going to be weeks when you're doing additional work to prepare for your assessments, to really knuckle down, and you might have 2 or 3 assessments due all around the same time, because unfortunately, our semesters are only a certain length of time, and we've got to make sure that that students have learned what they need to learn to progress to the next level. So it does become a little overwhelming at certain points in the semester. I'm sure Josh has already experienced some of that. So many of our students, in fact, I think it's around 47% of our students study part-time. And part-time can be anywhere from 1 to 2 courses per semester. So of course, that's going to double the length of time that it takes you to complete that course, but it may be what is required for you to manage life as a whole. Just I think it might be important, Cody, just to remind people that 3 courses per semester is considered to be a full-time study load for the purposes of any Centrelink study
Student
payment.
allowance, yeah.
Student allowance. So you can actually get away with 3 courses rather than 4. But, what does that look like in terms of, how many days do I need to be on campus? How many hours do I need to be on campus? That can really depend. There is a when classes open for enrollment, there's always a mad dash online to enroll into the most appropriate classes that give you the least amount of time on campus, and you are given a timetable beforehand to peruse, so you can plan and you can plot what your week looks like. But across the board, most students in a full-time capacity are on campus around 3 days. Josh, how many you're full-time?
Yeah, I'm full time and I'm in there 2 days a week. I compacted
Okay.
my Tuesday. So I've
Okay.
got 4 different 2 hour set blocks on a
Excellent.
Tuesday. It just worked better for my schedule. And then I have one early on a Wednesday morning.
Beautiful. So you're kind of like 2.5 days out of the week you're on campus, and the rest of the time you're doing other stuff. And so that's kind of how people balance the study as best as they can. And it is a juggle. It is an incredible juggle. You've got multiple balls in the air all at once, and that's assuming that you don't have a really crowded family life and kids and carer responsibilities. You don't have pets that need feeding and all the rest of it. So we understand that it can be a juggle, and there are multiple supports, not just through student services, but also your academic teams, all of the nursing academics will assist you and support you in whatever way that we can to allow you to be as successful, or to set you up to be successful, because that's what we want. We want you all to succeed and to be registered nurses in 3 years' time.
Thank you so much, Karen Ann, and thank you so much, Josh. I'm sorry, we're going to have to wrap up the panel discussion before our Zoom would like to kick us off by 7 o'clock, and I'm sure a lot of our members here tonight would like to get on to dinner. I'm going to start moving us through to the end of the online info session. I just want to say thank you, Josh. Thank you, Karen Ann, for all your insight. I'm going to pass on some information now, which will be ways for you guys to connect with the university, ask more questions about your scenario, and making sure you're setting yourself up with the best application forward for semester 2. So why UniSC? Obviously, we've been going over our nursing programs, but we have a true passion of our student experience, and we've received 5 stars for our teaching quality, student experience, as well as student support. So this is something that's what makes up this student experience journey. And it's met by obviously our academia, but also the services that come with that, just like what Karen Ann was mentioning. We have a true passion and a focus on employability. I think that's very important. Karen Ann did mention that we do have over 3,000 nursing students, but it'd be really nice to know that over 92% of our nursing graduates are finding a full-time position within 4 months of graduating from their chosen nursing science degree, which is really cool in a sense of from Fraser Coast, Gympie, Caboolture, Moreton Bay, and Sunshine Coast, that you can find a job locally or globally. If you would like to seek more one-on-one advice before putting in your application, or want a little bit more further support, or check out one of our campuses if you're joining us online and haven't been able to see a campus that you're looking at currently wanting to study at, jump on our website. Across multiple of our pages, you'll see a banner that says book a one-on-one with a study advisor or book a campus tour. All our campuses are available for you to peruse. Most of the time, you will be booked in with a study advisor who can walk and talk about your course and program, as well as showing you those amazing facilities. But if you're just wanting to chat and wanting some help, call our Student Central line on 075430 2890. That team have a wealth of knowledge in terms of application and entry requirements, as well as credit opportunities if you are wanting to understand a little bit more about maybe your study background and what you're trying to apply and what sort of steps and process you need to do when it comes to applying for credit. That's everything from us tonight. We will stick around slightly technically offline. We'll answer your questions if you do have any other further questions in the chat box. But for the rest of you, good night, and thank you for joining us this evening. Once again, thank you, Karen Ann and Josh, for joining me on the panel discussion, and Charlie and Katie for answering all our community's questions. Thank you all. Have a good evening.